Okay, this is the title of this video presentation, just so I can keep myself on topic for this. Okay, so essentially, depending where your focus is, because where your focus goes, where your attention goes, their energy flows. And I strongly believe within my own truth matrix and intel that and scuttlebutt, as they call it, that you see where people are engaged in the narratives that a lot of people are engaged in, the rhetoric, and admittedly, the type of sort of real-time intel that I tend to seek out and plug into is mostly a lot of these guys that are like ex-military, particularly special operators like Michael Glover. But these guys who their entire careers and part of their job description was based upon assessment, a political assessment. And Mike Glover is a former Green Beret, U.S. Army Special Forces. And these guys were in, they would basically, their lives depended on the assessment of the local, taking the readings, the temperature, if you will, of the local populace, and where they were at on a sort of potential for combat action, that kind of stuff. But mostly because of like what the U.S. Army Green Berets were involved in, winning the hearts and minds of the population, the local population. So communicators, trained not only in combat arts and stuff, but in psychology and languages, to basically integrate as much as possible to the point of even, growing their beards out and blending in with the local population. So this type of intelligence that I get from these guys, and particularly Mike Glover, I believe is nothing to dismiss nor see it as somebody rattling their sabers, because there's a lot of people in the United States that are being played. They're being manipulated, and it's my belief that whether you support one side of this political dichotomy, the T guy who just had his place raided, or the other side, the deep state, whatever the incumbent, it doesn't matter, because the end goal of both of those entities is to get people out into the streets and killing one another. I mean, and I don't really believe that's being alarmist to say that. Like I said, where I get this information from are usually people who have had to make these kinds of assessments, and there's a lot of people on both sides of the fence that are chomping at the bit, so to speak. Like you get a lot of these kind of people that are zombie apocalypse types, and they have a fantasy in their head about civil strife, urban combat, The Walking Dead, and none of that is a TV show. None of that is a fantasy. And I mean, the realities are harsh, but anyway, what I'm saying is I'm not passing this message along to add my energy to to this whole dynamic that's taking place, at least within the United States. I imagine it's going to take place all over the world to some extent. But as I've maintained in the past, everything is an opportunity for a lesson. And a lot of times when I try to make a message that I feel might be relevant to some people, ultimately it's really for me. It's for me to speak my truth into the quantum matrix. And this is just as much as a message to me to remind myself where my focus should be, where my attention should be, and what I ultimately want to see myself part of in the future. And it's not strife in the streets. It's not any of this kind of manipulated, conflict that's taking place. And anyway, it's very real, and it's going to continue to become more so as the November, I guess, of this year, and then certainly by 2024. So anyway, that being said, I also want you to realize about the nature of our government, and the lengths that they will go to make things happen. And I can think of no better example of this than to speak like sort of on a topic that's dear to me and music. And like I said, I'm 53 years of age. I was a huge music fan growing up, played guitar in high school, big, into all the metal music. And one thing that was kind of cool at that time, because this was like expressions that were new for at a certain level of youthfulness, like the invention of the electric guitar and all these other types of means for people to be creative. It exploded, and so you had kids that were and putting metal bands together. Then you had other kids that were putting like hip hop beats and everything based on their culture and their expression. And what started happening is the two, like the metal music genre in the 80s with the hip hop genre started blending. You had Public Enemy using a Slayer riff in one of their tracks. You had Ice-T using some other tracks from metal bands, and you had Anthrax. You had a metal band, Run DMC and Aerosmith, and so there was all this. It started like this, blending of cultures and kids that never really would have interacted, or perhaps interacted in a creative, positive fashion, beginning to do so. And that right there is what bothered the powers that be. They did not like that at all. And this, I guarantee you, and I wish, if you just look up criminalization of the hip hop industry, and there's also like an interview where Alex Jones did an interview with Russell Simmons of Def Jam's Records, where he has information of interaction with the CIA and their tampering with the hip hop music industry. And I'm gonna tell you this story real quick. And I don't know if this was a video that I found years ago on YouTube, and I don't know if it's still out there, but it was these two guys, two rappers, and basically they shared a story where right around the time when hip hop was kind of starting getting off the ground and popularizing, these record industry, people that were high up and also instrumental in signing acts, new acts to their label and whatnot, were called to a meeting. And this information is based on a document that was sent to this one rapper, and I can't remember any names or anything, But essentially, these record industry high ups, CEOs, people that sign new acts to label, were called to a meeting. At this meeting, they said that there were members of the privatized prison industry, and whom identified themselves. They weren't trying to hide who they were from or what they were about. They were identified as all these executives from the privatized prison industry. However, there was another group of individuals that were this sort of shadowy, unspoken aspect that were, and the members, and this document that was sent, the people that testified or put their truth on the paper, they said that these individuals were the real power brokers, and that the and throughout this discussion and negotiation, the people could tell, the record industry people could tell, that those shadowy, unspoken ones were the ones that were really pulling the strings. And the meeting was about this, monetizing it. They were told, the record industry people were told by the privatized industry individuals, that if they would only start signing hip-hop acts that were of a violent, they had some kind of element of gangster culture or violent this, that they would give them all this extra percentage money, from the privatized prison industry, for them to start signing and steering and cultivating the acts towards this violent, extreme sort of gangster, and basically only signing those acts over the more creative, in a sense, creating the hip hop or the gangster rap industry. And so it's all about divide and conquer, right? And it's and that is just one instance of say the elements of the United States government coming in and tampering with the people. And so if you don't understand what we are up against, and the length that the powers that be, the power brokers, the lengths that these people will go to, as far as tampering with things and manipulating your mindset, then you need to think again, and you really need to employ the investigative modalities of a Sherlock Holmes or a Gregory House MD, and start getting to the bottom of it. Because I'm going to tell you, man, where your focus goes, there your energy flows. And it's going to be real easy to get caught up in the days ahead with some of this nonsense. In fact, I mean, that is the third density artificial intelligence hive mind, and that is their plan to distract this awakening, to keep people divided, to keep the collective fractured. And that's how they've maintained power always. And they're gonna pull out all the stops. They're gonna pull out everything they can to distract people into this smoke and mirrors sideshow. It's not real. None of this shit is real, I'm telling you. And I mean, just the best thing to do is to unplug from this whole political drama sideshow that they're trying to keep people engaged with. And the more that you bring back your own attention to your own human matrix and what you focus on, the better off we'll all be as a collective, and the faster we'll all get to New Earth as a collective. I mean, seriously, just if you're part of any kind of extremist group, man, you're on the edge, and you need really, or if you have any kind of associations with any kind of extremist groups, whether they're these militias that are these right-wing militias that are all armed up and ready to go, and trust me, them people are they've been primed, and if you're on the other side with the Antifa and all that stuff, and and I'm sure they're all ready to go, and obviously they demonstrated that 2 years ago, and But everybody's been militarized, and it's the pieces are set on the chessboard. And if anybody who's watching this video presentation is involved in any of that, I'm telling you, get away from that crap as fast as you can, because you're just being manipulated. You're just being used as a pawn in a recurring game where darkness will always call your name. And the way out of all this crap is inward. And we all have to realize that these bodies, these third-dimensional genetic vehicles, are just nothing more than the particular container that our consciousness resides in. There's no more importance. I mean, they're very important. Take care of your container, take care of your genetic vehicle, but don't let it be, like a sort of avenue for to divide people, like, because your container has this particular coat painting, exterior painting. You look under the hood, we're all the same, for the most part, right? However, man, this is a heartfelt message to the collective of starseeds, lightworkers, galactics, to close ranks, to get away from politics and all that crap they're trying to manipulate people into, and hit that subscribe button, really. Whatever, I'm a joker.
Namaste, namaskaram.
Seriously though, stay on topic, stay on task, and claim your fifth dimensional light body and the new earth and your citizenship in the new earth, and let all these other folks, have their drama and learn. They're going to have to go to another planet to perpetuate that conflict and drama, if that's all they know. But I'm telling you, there is another way.
Namaste, namaskaram.